It's 28th February. It's a little after 10 a.m. in the morning, and I'm getting ready to go out for an interview with Native Talk Arizona radio channel. And right now I'm just putting my notes together, thoughts together. I'm making a little cheat card that I'll take with me. Maybe there's some different points that I want to bring up or have dates or some of those details that I might forget and I don't want to make them up. So I want you to come with me on the journey to go and see some of the process of this radio station. And by the end of it, you should be able to know if I can do it, you definitely can do it. Part of filmmaking, part of marketing, part of the, some would say fun, some would say intimidating, some would say, oh, I don't have time for that, I need to get back to filmmaking. However you want to say that, I say it's part of the process, so do whatever you can to learn how to do it. I've been encouraged to take Toastmasters, to do some of the Toastmasters stuff, other public speaking, so that I can improve the way I speak. I don't know if there's much hope for doing any of those things. I kind of at the point I am who I am, and no, I want to get better as a speaker, but all of that is like on the radio, in front of people, presenting to tribal councils, doing all of that stuff comes to how is your verbal communication. And so I definitely have a lot to improve on. Again, after you see this episode, you may realize that you are very well prepared to go and do your own interviews and get stuff like that. So here we go. I have about a 30-minute drive to get to the station where we're going to have the interview, and the butterflies are going. It's a station put on by Native Health out of Phoenix, and then they have offices in Mesa as well. And I had a chance to go on, I think a couple of months ago, to go on radio, and had a nice interview. It helps when there's people that have done some of their homework and are asking like good questions and that are very personable and kind of relaxes me or relaxes the person being interviewed. And so I felt it was a really good interview last time, and I would say because of the lady that was there that did the interview, just made me feel very like at ease, and not in an at ease as a military term, but just in a human term, like be okay with where you're at. And so it became more of a conversation, and it allowed me to forget about all the other chaos going on and how many people are going to hear this, and I don't want to say this or this, but just to focus on answering the questions that were asked and trying to speak from my heart and mind together. And all of that seemed to land really well. So hopefully this one goes well also. But not that I've had hundreds of interviews, but I have had a few, and so it's those just funny kind of in my mind having some butterflies and some nerves kicking in, which you hear a lot of professional athletes and stuff say that too, that it's when they don't start having those nerves and things before a game that things start to something's going on not quite right. And I've heard that in the military as well, when you're too comfortable, don't get comfortable, because that's when things happen and you're not ready to roll with whatever, react to however best you need to react. So so those nerves, I guess the same feelings of stress right now. How am I trying to deal with that as I'm getting ready to go into this interview and be prepared for it? So I already know the topic of it. It's talking about touch the water and looking for actors. I did just remember that they sent me some questions that they were going to ask, and I looked at them and felt comfortable when I looked at them, a week ago or so when this was set up. And so now I'm going to be a couple minutes early, and I just reminded myself I need to go and look at those questions, and I know that would help me calm down too, because you just try to be as prepared as you can, and then trust, like, okay, I've done all that I could have done. Yeah, I could have done more and more in this, but I've done what I have. I put some effort into it. With everything else going on in life, with all the chaos that we all deal with, I did what I could, and it was the best that I could have done with my circumstance at this moment. Health, looking at it through health, through work, through all these other things that just take our kids, family, that take our time, and then trusting that you'll answer the questions in the right way, and know that you're human and you might stumble and say, you'll probably see that today. I'll say some things wrong and mess up, or say something and then my meaning is really a little bit different. And I think as humans, most of us all get that. I sure do. There's times I know what I'm saying, I say it, and I go back and listen to what I said or whatever, and I miss certain words, or I said one word meaning 5 other things, and so just part of the process. So have fun, don't get stressed out, don't look at it like it's life or death. Just hey, this is a neat opportunity. I don't get to do this every day. It's a chance for me to try to find, main thing of this interview today is to get actors, let actors know, like, hey, we want actors with and without experience. Come on board. Let's come and audition for this film, and if you get a part, that's great. Let's move forward with it. And if you don't, then you've gained some more experience and maybe a little bit better for more prepared for your next audition. That's what I've got to keep in mind, that it's not about me in this interview. It's about those that are listening and those that I want to encourage and help come out and audition, that they, we can do hard things. So that's just wanted to share what was going on in my mind, as I still have another 15-20 minutes to go before I get there. So ponder on that for a bit. I'll catch you up here in a minute. Okay, so just landed and headed in. I just remembered too, an important part for me of calming down is always just to say a prayer, and my prayer basically just said, hey, I'm, Heavenly Father, Creator, I'm in Thy hands. If there's something Thou would have me say, then let me say it. If there's something You want me to do, then help me to know and to feel what I need to do. And usually when I do that and I'm sincere and it's coming from my heart, that a lot of those nerves and things leave, because I know that He's going to help me. So I thought I needed to share that with you, that's something that is a pretty powerful, I guess, tool. I don't know if you want to call it a tool, but something that I found that's really helpful in my life. Okay, here we are. So it's more work to you guys and not as fun?
Not necessarily. It's always nice to meet guests from various backgrounds and various things that that they do. Example, making movies, or restaurants and taco fried bread trucks. And
ooh, that sounds.
We just got that.
We're like,
oh, that was just
we're starving. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
They had photos of all their food. We're like, no.
Didn't bring the real.
No.
No, sorry to say.
I know.
Right up for you.
So we were wondering if your segment could go for 2 segments.
Whatever you.
It'd be approximately about 22 minutes.
Oh, I got it. Hopefully you're long-winded.
Either that or we were going to say just answer slowly.
I'm kidding. I usually talk way too much, so that's probably.
Great.
I'm up for whatever you guys want. You can
Okay,
turn it down to 20
perfect.
seconds or 20 minutes.
The interview that we had the quality was very poor because it was
A phone interview.
phone interview. So the signal was just very poor.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can't use it. So.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well,
we
sorry, and I'll take it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we're
thank
like,
you.
oh, perfect.
I was going to say, you're in the entertainment business. I'm sure you're used to it last minute changes.
Yeah, as much as you can get used to that, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to ask an additional question, and I just thought of that. We really wanted your opinion as far as being a director and being involved in movies. Subtitle movies. What's your opinion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Right now?
Yeah. Well, I was just like before I put more.
Yeah. No, I was always like, oh, it's gonna take you out of the film, and I think the first one that I can really remember, maybe because I could read and follow along, and like you hit a certain point where that is what was the Nazi Jewish film that came out? It's been 20 years.
Schindler's
ago.
List?
No.
I was gonna say that was.
And it was subtitled.
Okay.
It was about the kid that thought it was a game, and he was the guy that thought it was like, you've got to be really quiet.
Life is Beautiful.
Yes, like that was the first film that I felt like it was another language I didn't know anything
Right.
of.
It was Italian, I believe.
Yeah, and then to read it, and I found myself still absorbed. You know, a few minutes I felt like it took to get, and probably with any of them now, it takes a little bit of transition time. But then at some point, it just like I felt myself kind of into the story as if so reading, and so I like it. And some of our films we've had subtitles. Like I think of More Than Fry Bread, we subtitled some of it, and then some of it we didn't. And it was a choice. We've had people say, "Why didn't you subtitle?" And I'm like, well, sometimes, just like real life, you don't always need to know everything, or even if you want to know everything, there's some things you just don't know because you don't know the language. So go learn language, and then you can. So there was my long take on it. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I was thinking about it. I saw Parasite last week.
Oh, and that's subtitled.
Yes,
I haven't seen it.
I know I haven't
South
either.
Korea. Yeah, but you really go see it, and like other movies that are subtitled, like Passion of the Christ or Dance with Wolves, and like you said, Life is Beautiful. I mean, I guess to me it seems like there's two schools of thought. The studios are worried that people don't want to read, and then
People can't read. Yeah, so watch movies.
exactly, or they get but you got directors who say they can read. They're interested in a wonderful story, and the reading that's the issue. So. And I was curious as I wasn't aware if any of your movies had subtitles or like something that would that be something you'd want to do or so we wanted to throw that in during the conversation. So.
Yeah, and even when subtitles like Legends from the Sky is 15 minutes in Navajo, and we subtitled it, but there's still sometimes in English, you have an issue of you can talk faster than you can put that many words, and so some of it is like trying to simplify it so people can still read as you're going with the conversation. Yeah. And then there's some things in translation that there's, whether it's an English word that you're translating to whatever language or vice versa, Navajo to English, there's things that are in that language you almost have to understand the cultural subtext. Yes, there's the word and this is what the word means, but to really know what that word means, you have to understand like the cultural subtext that's behind it. Whatever English, there's stuff like that. And so that was something in Legends too. There was like more depth with somebody that knew the language and the culture that would get out of being said versus, somebody just knowing, I know Honjo in Navajo means, everything's good, but there's a lot more to it. And I remember probably wasting, I'm long-winded.
Oh, no,
so
no,
this
it's okay.
will
It's
help.
perfect.
But there was, I think it was on Legends, I believe it was James Billigodi. He sat down and explained what he had just was going to say in a sentence or so. And he gave me that background, more of that depth. And it took 5 to 10 minutes for him to give me that kind of lesson about what he had said in that sentence or two. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like that. So but that's okay. That's life. Even things in English. I'm a native speaker of English for the most part. Like there's things too that saying, well, I get what the words are saying, but that's not what that means. So tell me. Especially like some of the older words that older generation stuff that talks about things like, what does that mean? What is that?
Okay. So sometimes it just doesn't work. Doing subtitle or doing it in the actual language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It's part of being human. I think that you don't. And there's like some with Fry Bread too. There's some things in Hopi and some things in Tio things that are said that if you're a Hopi audience they get and laugh, and Tio gets and laughs, and there's still stuff in Hopi that I have no idea what she said. I trust her as an actor and knew she had a part, and people responded positively to it. So
okay. Great.
Good.
All right. Sounds like we got 2 seconds.
Yes.
No, I'm out. I don't have anything. Did you get some new headphones? I mean, I just don't remember.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. I usually don't remember stuff like that.
You want me to tighten more?
Yeah. Should be okay. I can lean.
Lanasha?
Yes. I'm not sure. Should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, supported by I should
Radio
have had this
Phoenix.
group. Presented by.
Presented by. Okay.
Presented by. That's what it was.
Okay.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and Radio Phoenix. I'm host Lanasha Puadi. In the studio with me is Travis Hamilton, owner of Holt Hamilton Films. Welcome to our show, Travis.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Where should I start? Start in first grade? Just kidding. Thing that's on my mind right now is just family.
Mhm.
I have 5 kids. Little 10-month-old Michaela. We have son Luke, Bria, Drew, Spencer, and my wife Rebecca. Live in Mesa. Goes from 10 months to 16 years, so good little range. And just kids can keep you really busy, and they're a joy to have and fun. And I'm trying to be a better dad every day.
And how do you juggle everything?
Have a really supportive wife and good kids that, not perfect kids, just like none of us, but kids that are willing to help around the house. And sometimes we don't juggle. Sometimes there's a lot of balls that drop, and you just try to keep those most precious ones, the most important ones of family and life and service. You try to keep those in the air, and others it's okay to let stuff fall sometimes. And then sometimes you have an opportunity to get caught up. And sometimes not. Sometimes you're like, well, that ball can just sit over in the corner. There's more important stuff I got to focus on.
That is perfect advice. Thank you for sharing that. How did you get interested in making Native American movies, and why?
Well, my introduction really to Native country was I was a senior in high school, and I met a man, a Shoshone Paiute Native. This is up in Idaho, and he introduced me, took me to my first powwow, and started to help me realize, as a young kid, that there's more to Native Americans, to more than what Hollywood had said previously, or what history books had completely told. And so that was kind of my introduction. And shortly after I met Shane, then I served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on the Navajo and Hopi reservations. And so that was my introduction. And after 2 years of trying to ride my bike away from res dogs, get a few dogs that bit me, and just having opportunity to really day to day to serve the people and to be served by the people there, that just realize hey, we're all humans, we all have lots of similarities. And then coming home after my mission, returning back to Idaho, and I ended up getting into film stuff and just stayed connected with a lot of friends and experiences I had, and so it just kind of snowballed from there as I started film school, and hey, love to make a film. Made the first film, and then that kind of snowballed into other projects.
Wow. And I know you've produced a lot of famous movies. Which one is your favorite?
I appreciate the word famous, and so I'm trying to differentiate. Is it famous in my own mind?
No.
So I was like, well, and so for you to ask me that, I kind of laugh, because in my mind there's still even Turquoise Rose, that it was a very specific Navajo film, took place there. There's still people in Navajo land that have not seen it or know anything about it. So thank you for saying the word famous. So I first off would probably say none of them are, because I don't think we're at that point. But probably Fry Bread is the one that's the most well known. We hit the road pretty hard at going out. Kind of hit the powwow trail, but hit the movie trail. And literally took that movie all over the place, and still it just ran a week in South Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakota, for a week in the theater, and it's been out since 2012, so it's been out 8 years, and still is getting out there, and people don't know about it. A lot of people don't, and there's some do, but that's there. And just like I have 5 kids, like which kid is your favorite? It's kind of the same question. There's things that are unique and special about each one, and then you look at the whole, and there's the kind of collective view, and then there's those individual views. And so I can look at a film like, I know I really enjoyed this, oh, this film was I really dropped the ball here, I really struggled with having an ending on that film, or hey, we did really good hey, we had a really good ending on that one, but we didn't have much of a, whatever, the second act was weak, or there's things like that you can go back and look through. So it's realizing kind of the big picture of what is happening. I have a friend, Ryan Benali out of Kirtland, New Mexico, that told me he's a sculptor, really well known, does beautiful work. And he said one of his first sculptures was like from a little alabaster of a hand. He tried to sculpt his hand, and he said he did that, and his mom kept it and he loved it. And he said as he progressed and got better and better as a sculptor, he wanted to go back and like really sculpt that to make it look like, because he could see the imperfections and the lack of detail and all those things. And his mom always said no, because now when you look back on your journey, you can see this is where you started. And then if you could look at each of those pieces of rock that he's chiseled into these masterpieces, you can see that progression. That's kind of similar how I feel with the films too, as you look back. And hopefully we're kind of up and down, going uphill, and not just up and down, on a staying level on a horizon, but they're actually climbing that mountain, and there's still the ups and downs, but they're going up.
So it definitely is a learning experience, and you continue to grow.
Yeah, hopefully.
And can you share what goes involved in making doing the production of all of your films?
The first one, Turquoise Rose, I wanted to, when I came home off my mission, I wanted to help people see like Native country more how I saw in my experience with Native country, specifically my friends and family in southern Idaho. Good people, all trying to survive and feed our families and that, but people that didn't have that close interaction to learn from the people themselves, or didn't have complete, more of a fuller knowledge of this is how Native country was. There's people when I'd go home that asked, like, are they still living in teepees and just some of those things. And to me it was so weird, because I wait, this person that's asking this is a very good friend, or somebody that I grew up with. I was a little kid, and they were now as an elder or whatever, and so I knew they were a good person. They were a good human being, asking me questions simply because they didn't have the correct knowledge. And so that was what Turquoise was some of my intent, was to go and try to and I'm in my own little way try to create a film and just help other people see this is kind of my, I guess, love note to my experience on the Navajo Nation, me coming in without really knowing too much, and leaving with still not knowing everything, but knowing a little bit more, and having ups and downs, failures and joy, and good experiences and bad experiences, and just like, well, this is part of the human experience. And so that was kind of the intent with Turquoise Rose. And then I always have an image in my head. We showed the film in Window Rock there at the Navajo Nation Museum. There's a nice little theater there. And we booked that, and that's where we had our world premiere when that movie came out. And there was a lady that stood up, and she had tears running down her face, and she was thanking us for making the film like that. And this is a Native woman. I would assume she was Navajo. And so that really, even now thinking about it, that touches I can still feel those feelings and remember that experience. Just like, this is what it's about. Somebody thanking us. And so then it was like, okay. And then other questions from the audience of, for numerous times have said, well, what's your next project? And it's kind of that, a new okay, so I'm supposed to do this again. Okay, well, let's see what we're doing and how to figure this out. And even today, we're trying to get our sixth feature film up and running, and they're still like, we're not pretending that we know everything about this or too much, but. So yeah, so there's kind of the different films had different things. The films, if you look at them kind of collectively and you watch them in order, you see we're trying different things. With Fry Bread, it was more of a mockumentary, a different style of filmmaking, something that low budget, independent really can go hand in hand with if there's a good story. And so it was a lot of more handheld, quicker. It wasn't so elaborate, trying to match a look of a Hollywood film, and more of a documentary style. And so that was me wanting to test a different genre of film, and that found success with that. And I really enjoyed that because we had a script, and the actors would say their lines, and then there was lots of room for improv, and lots of what ended up on the screen was kind of a mixture of the script and of the actors' experience. A lot of first-time actors on that, and then some actors that had some great experience. Tatanka Means, Ernie Sosi, James Villigodi, and then others that were more first-time actors, and that's kind of the one movie that they've done so far. So you can look at each one of those projects as kind of, okay, what's the experience now? Or what am I trying to learn on this film? What am I trying to review? And which areas do we want to get better? And with Blue Gap Boys, my second film, we came out and said, okay, Turquoise it was like, I don't remember, 4 or 6 years to make. And the next one, like, okay, let's make another one from beginning of script writing to when the movie's released in theaters. Like, let's tighten that up. And I think it was about 10 months that we did that. And then we did that and like, oh, well, we forgot. Okay, we met that goal, but then we dropped the ball, and some other areas that we could have, I look back and like, oh, there's room for that. But, it's a good little film in its own ways, and it has its imperfections, and just part of our journey.
Well, going back to when you introduced Turquoise Rose to Window Rock at the Navajo Museum, the questions that you got there. So what are your future projects? Or are you currently working on anything right now? Yes, you always, I think I took a big class out in LA a couple of times, the same one, trying to learn twice. And that was one thing they were taught is you always have numerous projects at various stages of development. And so I have a handful of scripts that are written, whether it's just a first draft or third or fourth draft that are sitting on my shelf. Some ones that haven't been made yet, some because of budget, some because the timing's not right. Like, oh, I really like this story, that's why I put the time into writing it, but it's going to be a big budget. So I'm going to have to wait until hopefully I get to that point, can make it. Or how do we whittle it down, or do we want to whittle it down so we can make it? But so we have a feature right now that I'm aggressively chasing after. It's called Touch the Water, and it's the lead character. That is a 70-80-year-old Native woman, and that kind of came about. I had 6 months of work, to one really big job and another that was like a month. So 6 months total that both of them within the same week both had went away. And so that was like devastating, and at the same time it was, well, okay, let me feel the sadness and feel what that is, and then kind of, okay, now I can't sit around for 6 months and like, because I still need to feed my family, and the life of an independent filmmaker, you're always really close to having to get a real job, and or go somewhere where income's a little more steady and real. And so I got serious and was doing some prayer, and just like, okay, what is that story? Looking at the scripts that we had, and I felt like next film I needed to do was to really make something that was very affordable, with small budget, that in a way I could almost do myself if needs be. And so went with my assistant coach for cross country, my oldest son, and we had our last meet out in California, and went out there, and early morning before that race, that was that later on, or it was the day before, we were out running on the beach. And so being on the beach and stuff, being from Idaho and Arizona, like water and massive water is like a really still an amazing experience that I have whenever I see the ocean, because it's so still uncommon to me. Running out on the pier along the beach, there was a lady, an older woman that was being pushed in a wheelchair, and I just saw that image. I was running around the end of the pier, running around. There was this real old man pushing this really old lady in this wheelchair, going real slow, and it was probably normal to them, but to me, I was like, well, what if? And then that's where the story I did came of this really old Native woman in Arizona, and her journey. The story kind of wraps into it's her journey, trying to find self-worth in the world we live in, and trying to find, okay, I've had lots of good experiences in my life, and now what am I doing with the rest of my life, whether that be a day or 10 more years, like. So it's a journey of her trying to find her worth, and to put in some of the other things of life, of being alone, of family not around as much as she would like, and probably family would like, and so some of those issues going on. So I'm excited. It's a simple story,
but I think it's really timely, and so the timing's right. I crafted it in a way like budget-wise, we could make it happen even if it was very little, and so those are all the, as a writer, as a creative, you kind of want to forget about that stuff and not put restrictions, but at the same time with a producing hat, it's like, well, that's great, you can do that, but no one may ever see it, and it might just be a movie that stays in your head and on paper. So how do you craft that together to make something that's really viable? And so yeah, that's Touch the Water is what we're going after. We hope to shoot end of April into May. We're still on target. Still a lot of work to make that happen.
And are you still looking for actors for Touch the Water?
We are. We haven't hired any actors yet, or locked in any actors. We've just ended our first round of online submissions, so anyone in the world that heard about it could audition, and that just wrapped up. Now we're in the process of getting ready to go through all the people that auditioned, and then next week I'm going to open back up online and do online for another 2 weeks, because it's still we don't have the funds we can put on every billboard in the nation and every news channel and newspaper and magazine and online everywhere. So the word is still kind of rolling out. So we'll do that, and then we'll have our first in-person auditions next week. Actually working with Native Health, March 7th. There'll be more information on our website and social media stuff for when that is. And that's always fun, because then it's people that can come out and they don't have to worry about self-taping themselves and putting on online and submitting that way, which is convenient and great, especially if you live in New York and we're holding auditions in Arizona.
And do you have to have experience in acting, or could it just be somebody who maybe is interested in the film and they thought that they would make a huge impact in the role?
Yeah, no, we're open to anybody to come out, new and experienced.
And then, go ahead.
I'm saying this too. We need lots of old faces, and people that too are wanting to, like, you know what, I've done a lot of things in life, but I've never been in a movie. I'm gonna go out there and try. Like those specifically, that's our 2 or 3 main characters are 70 plus, 60 plus, and need lots of background. We shoot some at a senior day center, an elder day center, and so yeah. And something we've done is, at one time, a couple years ago, I counted up. We've had over 100 actors with no experience. One of our projects was their first time in a movie, and their first time in a movie with lines. So with speaking parts, so 100 plus with speaking parts in a film that played on the big screen. And so we have a pretty solid track record of giving opportunity. And I love that, because I still feel like I still am having opportunity to do this. And so why not share it? I love seeing new faces that nobody's ever seen on the big screen, and love working with Ernie Sosey's, someone that I've had in every one of my films, whether it's a lead role or a little day player that he's always come out. And so yeah, please, if you have interest, come audition, submit, come be background. That's how I got started in film. I was a background. I was an extra in a little music video, and then in a little Disney show that still plays every Halloween. I have one little scene run across really fast. And so yeah, that's where I kind of saw the commotion and the craziness, and like there's kind of my heart took off, and there was something special about that. And so yeah, please, anyone can come out.
And can they find that information on your website? Yes,
holthamilton.com. And we're on social, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just do a search for Holt Hamilton Films, and you should be able to find it. But yeah, Facebook specifically, and our website. Go to our website and click on the actor tab, and that we have a page that's dedicated specifically how to audition online.
And what advice do you have for somebody who is interested in doing what you do, producing a film, or maybe you're just interested in acting? Do you have any advice for them?
Have fun with it. Get out and try it. Before you commit to career, it's a hard road. There's lots of highs, and there's probably more lows with it. But get out and experience it. If you want to act, then yeah, get involved and do some auditions. join some community or church plays or school plays. Just take those little steps, and if there's something that like inspires you about what you're doing, take another step. And if that passion, that drive is still there, take another step. And when you take a step and that's gone, then it's, to me, that's a sign like, okay, maybe I need to shift or do something a little bit different. Or maybe it's not being acting, maybe it's a little behind the camera. And I just realized that with baseball, I wanted to play professional baseball, but when I got in high school, it kind of that dream of, you know, playing that, kind of, it started to change in that in that transition, and stuff changed over, and I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of the experience of anything in life, is get out and try and do, and I think your heart and your mind will tell you, like, this is right, because I believe there are things that we're all meant to do. And I think that as we really listen, try to block out the noise and listen to that inner self, of that honest self, that kind of that guiding light will take us where we need to be. And even if it's not, you know, you're not going to be the next big star, you can still maybe have some fun being an extra, and maybe have in a film or two, and still continue your journey where you need to be. It's more experience. So
thank you for sharing that. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to highlight for our listeners?
I think just the importance of being a good human. You know, I think we live in a day where there's lots of opportunity to really be mad at a lot of people that are similar to us and different to us. And so I would really say that is look past, you know, try to feel and look into people's hearts and people's intent, and just I think we need to get to a point where we're seeing each other as people. Yes, with similarities, yes, with differences, and just like learning to agree to disagree, and just having like, hey, we're all on this experience, this journey together. How can we help each other out? Like, hey, somebody needs, you can go and help them dig a ditch, okay, and then, you know, just try to be a good human. And I think it's a time where we forget the color of our skin, we forget the you know, the political side of view we have, and some of those things, and maybe not forget's the right word, but put more importance on that we're human, that we're all, you know, part of the five-fingered family, and that we're here, we're sharing the journey together. So let's make it as enjoyable as we can for each other. And yes, there's my philosophy. What I'm trying to do every day, trying to do better.
Thank you for sharing that, Travis. I would like to thank you for coming into the studio today to share us about your journey.
Yeah, thank you. It's always fun being here. Thank you. Now, what'd you say? We didn't want 4 shows or something.
It worked.
Yay. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So that was fun. I even got a present. I'm excited to look at it. So that was good. They were easy to talk with, which is always helpful to have a better interview. Of course, coming out, there's things like, oh, I should have said this, or I shouldn't have said this, or I should have shortened this, but you know what, it's done, and here we are. So do the best you can and hope for the best, and you know, they're going to do some editing and stuff on it as well. So it is what it is at this point. Glad for the opportunity, and we'll see how it goes when it comes to air. And the power of editing too, maybe they'll make everything I said, so they'll make it sound really good. Keep following the journey.